Hey to everyone coming in the live. Let me know who's here. Let me know how you're feeling. Let me know how your Saturday is going today. I will be starting the live shortly. Okay, I'm just going to turn this down. So hello to those that are on the live right now, and hello to those that are going to catch this back later on. I know that everyone's going to be on this live today. It's Saturday, and so a lot of people are not going to want to be bombarded with a lot of this information right now. But this live is going to be, again, as you could probably tell, my energy is still a little bit low, and I'm going to talk about a little bit about why that is at the moment, and not go too depth into what happened this week, but just to kind of highlight some stuff in relation to this topic that I'm going to be talking about today. And as you can hear, or as you can see from the title, hey Morris, hi Burning Ego, hope you're well. As you can see from this title, this is all about fear. This is all about false evidence appearing real. This is all about learning to reclaim your sovereignty within that fear. Like, fear doesn't actually exist. And I'm going to tell you kind of like how I learned how to allow my brain to align to this concept in itself, because I've been through some very real things, as you guys can imagine, and even this very week there was a lot of things that was kind of brought back up for me in relation to my experiences of what happened back in 2017, of being detained in the mental health system and all that kind of stuff. I do have videos on this topic on my channel, so you can check back some of those videos as well. I guess maybe some stuff will come up in this live that I haven't said, as there is a lot that I have not been able to share with you guys, mainly for self-protection reasons, but I'm even going to kind of talk about the fear in relation to that as well, because a lot of it all ties in. So first of all, let me start off like this, and I was actually going to do a separate video almost reintroducing myself to everyone, because um it's interesting, especially over the last few months. I've been going through a very interesting journey, personal journey within myself. And many of you guys would know that I changed my name. I changed my name about 2 years ago, to Maitreya. Well, I did actually put it in by default, but something didn't allow me to send it. Um, I didn't actually send it in because I felt like I was still in a transitional mode. And I'm going to speak about even the anxiety with regards to why I changed my name. Um, I actually changed my name um, mainly because of fear. Um, for those of you who are aware of the story, um, I've had to literally be dealing with some real ass agents in real life. um, and that has been incredibly scary for me at times, because that's not exactly a reality that I had expected that I would be experiencing. You know, you think life would be normal, and this life is nowhere near normal. And those of you who also are targeted individuals, you'll understand exactly what I mean about the it's your life is just not normal. The stuff just doesn't make sense. The stuff that takes place, the experiences that you end up attracting, it doesn't make any logical sense. And so with the fear of um what happened to me being somewhat of a setup, um via external forces, via many different sources actually. I kind of, over the last few years, as I've been able to process things, I've been able to see a lot of connections to um, whether it's different organizations or strategic people, that could have very well been connected in this whole thing, which was very, very revealing for me. Um, and it's not a thing of paranoia, it's actually just putting all of the dots together. Um, and so there was a lot of real stuff, like people, even the home treatment team that was coming to me, it didn't make no sense that if they were coming in officials, they were coming as officials, but I didn't feel comfortable with these officials coming to me. And so I actually was in a state of fear where I was like, I need to figure out some kind of witness protection program or whatever, or something like that, because I was like, what is going on is not normal. I feel like I need to just retreat. I feel like I've been overexposed in this reality, because at this time I had just I'd recently launched Self Reconnection at that time, um, and I was doing my readings, doing all this kind of stuff. I was starting to become more recognized within the field, but then I noticed that some people were becoming very jealous that I was making these moves, and were having some conflict and tension with the fact that I was like the new girl on the block, and this was 3 years ago. Um, so yeah, a lot of fear was attached to that experience, and I felt like to preserve myself, I had to change my name. And I feel like that was a necessary thing for me to do at that time, because Naomi, that's my actual real name, Naomi had to go through a real journey. I've said this before. I really feel that the Naomi that existed then, um, a part of her died in that whole experience. I literally saw a clone of myself, literally like trapped in some kind of place, and so much of myself, like I lost a lot of parts of myself. I felt very disconnected, which is why I actually stopped Soul Reconnection around that time. I stopped doing readings. I stopped doing consultations and stuff, because I felt like I couldn't connect to source. I couldn't connect to that self within myself, that place within myself anymore. Very, very disconnected, very, very fragmented. So I felt that Maitreya stepped in and it became a teacher for me. And Maitreya is still an aspect of me. Maitreya will always still be an aspect of me, because Maitreya was a very key catalyst to my whole awakening, my whole awareness of self, awareness of the reality that I was in. Maitreya broke that illusion. Maitreya was the one who actually sent me forth. Maitreya is the future Buddha, and I always talk about in the glitch experience that I literally transported to, or I felt like I traveled to 2020, because all of the stuff that is playing out right now. I even saw a video of stores that were being emptied and people having fights and all that kind of stuff. These are the types of visions I saw in 2017 in this whole glitch experience. The whole famine, the whole martial law. I just shared a picture of the article that was posted, and they're saying that Italy right now, places in Italy is now under martial law. In my last video, I told you guys I saw a lot of martial law coming up. This is really the cover up and the real reason behind this whole coronavirus type thing going on. So yeah, I saw a lot, I experienced a lot, and I feel like Maitreya brought me to a space that allowed me to not only go into a cocoon and dig a bit deeper, really unravel things a lot better. But yeah, it became a form of self-preservation for Naomi, because Naomi had to grow into this archetype. And I when I say Maitreya and all this kind of stuff, I do not call myself a deity. I I resonate with certain archetypes of certain deities, and I recognize that within yourself all you're doing is evoking those archetypes. It's not something that you're calling onto, it's something that's already inside of yourself, and it just manifests. So that's essentially what it is. So yeah, there was a lot of fear attached to that situation, and I'm realizing that there's been a lot of the impacts and the results of my experience within the mental health system, being detained within a space for 7 weeks, or I was taken across the whole country, into like 3 different hospitals across the whole country, private institutions, mind that, not actually NHS institutions. So you can imagine the type of stuff that was going on in there, because it's not really regulated. But yeah, that experience really brought a lot of trauma, in the fact that I was placed in a situation where, one, I was alone. Two, I've been attacked by not only the police officers, I've been attacked by mental health staff, patients. I don't even know who's patients and who's staff. Everything's very mismatched. I'm I'm realizing that the hospital is kind of entangling my family in a situation to get them on their side, and then I'm feeling even more isolated. So there was like so many different situations, even in the fact that they were actually prompting me to kill myself. They put me in a situation, and these are things that, images that actually are burned within my memory. These are memories that I don't feel that would ever be able to go away, because trauma is trauma. You can heal to a certain level to where you can begin to transmute that trauma, and it no longer becomes an anchor for you. But there's certain traumas that is trauma. um and these are images that are embedded in my brain of being told forcefully to lay in a bed that literally just had a plastic duvet, plastic mattress, plastic pillow. um and I don't even know where I am. I don't know why I'm here. It literally is a prison. I'm I'm under 24-hour watch time, and I've literally have like a whole hospital telling me that if I don't lay in this bed, then someone's going to come and kill me, and if I don't actually adhere to those orders, then I might as well do that myself. That's the reality of the experience that I was going through for 7 weeks non-stop. um I even have images that flash back to me of um in the first hospital, and I was very, very weak at this point. And um they I was on this bed, and I was very, very sensitive, very, very sensitive. Again, everything's been a shock. I still don't really know what's happening, but I realize again, I'm said that I'm on 24-hour watch, and the nurse is actually sitting down. No, I started feeling this simulation. I started feeling like some kind of swaying. I was like, is the building moving? Am I moving? Is this me going crazy? And that was literally gaslighting the fuck out of me. Didn't realize that it was the woman putting her foot on the bed, but the bed is it's like a electric bed, but it's creating some kind of simulation. And these are the tactics that they were making to gaslight me, to literally create a situation that would force me to go crazy. And this experience was so crazy because as much as your fear is taking you over, because you're like, oh my gosh, like this could literally be my life forever. um I told you that they actually tried to forcefully they were trying to threaten me to raise the section to 6 months for observations when there was no evidence of any type of mental health conditions going on at all. Like from the first hospital, if you guys look at my first video on my channel, you'll hear the first interview that I did with BBC. And yeah, the first hospital, like they had already said, we since she's been here, we haven't seen anything. All we have is information that's been given to us. I don't know who gave this information, who gave these reports or whatever. But that's the only information they had for me to be able to have me detained. Um, and it's so crazy because I, and I'm going to talk about what happened recently in a minute, but I'm trying to like build my way up to that, so I can kind of paint a picture for you guys. But oh damn, I've just lost my train of thought. But I've just lost my whole train of thought. This is another element of trauma, because I didn't have very bad memory until after this happened. So literally, I could literally have a thought go through my mind. Minute later, gone, lost my whole track, loss of like my short term memory is very, very bad. Like someone could say something literally 30 seconds ago, then you'll be like, what do you feel about that? And I'll be like, feel about what did you just say? And my brain literally just struggles. It's so much information going on in there. So that is again another element of PTSD. That's a result, that's a wound that's been inflicted by the actions of this system. um yeah, I know I do need to take time sometimes, and a lot of the time why I kind of struggle as well is because again, Saturn on my third house, I actually struggle. I want to be able to be um I want people to understand what I'm saying. I want people to you know, really feel that I've articulated myself well. Like I don't have to keep. That's why I feel like I have to over explain myself sometimes, because um it's like I want to make sure that people actually understand what I'm trying to say and they haven't got like a different idea. But yeah, Saturn on the third house really kind of gets to me sometimes. But yeah, back to what I was saying. Let me kind of follow my notes because sometimes I go off. But oh yeah, I was watching a video yesterday. I think that's what I left off. And I saw that, and I know this isn't really news to me. It's just when you actually come into the information, um it's quite overwhelming. But I came into information with it was a news report of some people in Texas that were also experiencing false detainments. And what was actually wild is that one of the people who experienced this was no, there was actually two, but I can't remember how old the girl was. But the boy was only 11 years old. And here, what actually happened? This is the wild shit that is going on behind closed doors. And if you I will put this here, if you guys know anyone who is struggling with mental health, whether it's family, friends, I would say really be informed to take on more holistic methods, because whilst you may think that taking them to the mental health hospital may be the best thing for them, might actually be the most damaging experience that they could experience. I've got a video on my channel that talks about I interviewed Sophie and Martin, and they were a family who experienced a crisis. And Sophie actually being a psychologist, she and her mother actually being a nurse, they both decided not to take their brother and their son into a mental health hospital, simply because they know the realities of what takes place within those spaces. And so definitely check back out that video, because you really want to be aware of the choices that you're making when it comes to people's mental health. Quickly calling them up and saying, oh, this person is a mental health patient and stuff like that. Mental health facilities are not a place of rehabilitation. They're a great place of trauma. And I've been finding so many reports that are confirming my own reports of things like sexual assaults within mental health institution. That's something that happened to me. And so many trauma and psychological abuse and not listening and forcing of medication and inhumane like, oh my gosh, talk about human rights. You don't have human rights. The very fact that you've been detained, your rights have been taken away from you. This is another traumatic situation. I will never forget being on my period, trying to take a shower. Now, the way that the way that especially the second hospital, they had like a wet room. And anyone who knows me personally knows that when it comes to anything that helps me to get in a peaceful state, water is always something that can help in assisting me with that. So whether it's going into a shower, whether it's going into a bath, whether it's imagining waterfalls, whether it's hearing water, all of these different types of things, I always try to incorporate this within me, because it's just, water is my peace. So I try to take a shower. No, when I first went into this hospital, I would sit in the shower for about half an hour, like literally just sit on the floor and just allow the water to run, and I'll just sit in there, meditate, I will sing, and I'll get into the whole singing part later, because the way that they try to demonize you for the little simple things that you do and use those as a justification to justify that you're crazy, but you're just not dealing with things or using the techniques that they would expect you to use. So me, I'm a singer. You know, that's always been my healing. If I whenever and especially singing in water, that's that's amplification for me. So I used to just sit in the shower and I would just sing and just allow myself to get lost in this alternative reality of peace that I've created for myself, imagination. And they saw that as a threat. They saw that as me indicating signs that I could potentially be suicidal. And so what they did was limit my water to army washes, to where I could only use water for 5 minutes. So as a woman, yeah, like who is very much in tune with themselves, you know, I love to be clean, I love to be sensual. That is a very, very disturbing place to be. And then on top of it, I was on my period, and I kept screaming at them. In fact, I wasn't even screaming. I was literally just like, I need my water. I don't care what you don't need to do, but I need my water. You don't need to turn on this shower. I'm not playing with you. I'm not arguing. This is not a conversation. I need my water. And that's the type of energy that I had to be able to come with them with. And literally, it took 7 hours for me to get my water back on. Tell me that's not inhumane. Like, tell me, like, you don't even treat animals like that. You really don't. And so this is, and even just someone just said torture, even just the torture of, they deliberately didn't allow me to sleep. That's another torture technique that they used. They dragged me out, especially for the first 3 or 4 days. Again, all of the days merged in together. I didn't even have my phone, and so much things happened in those days that it was so hard to compute everything. But the first 3 or 4 days, they did the absolute most to make sure that I did not sleep. They sent oh my gosh, they had a man come into the hospital and literally be like, where is she? Where is she? Trash the whole hospital. And on top of that, you've got staff turning to you and being like, somehow they've managed to get all of the staff off the ward, so it's just me and you, and there's no one protecting us. Like, how? I don't understand. Like, whether this man was a real person who was actually looking for me or what. The fact is, they created a situation that created immense fear within that hospital, directed to me. Someone, Burning Ego says, I'm a female, everything you say is true. Have you also experienced being detained in a mental health facility? And where are you, if you don't mind me asking? Because I know I've got a lot of American audience. It'd be interesting to know if you're from the UK. But this is some very, very, very real stuff that happens within these places. You know, oh my gosh. I mean, I've said a few things so many times. In America. See, that's what I mean. And it's not really spoken about. When you I mean, there's a lot of speak about mental health, and especially more so now, a lot more people speaking about mental health. But the dark side of the mental health system, no one's speaking about. Like, it's actually a very rare thing to find videos on the internet about these things. I'm not saying it's rare. You will find these videos, but Not many. I've been searching so that I can do my own information to see it, my own research to see who else has been going through these types of situations. Like, that is crazy. Like, really crazy. And the reason why I know it's even more crazy is because I know people personally who's gone through this situation. Maybe not to the same extent as myself, but they have also been detained under prejudice reasons, um, under the mental health system, and been like exposed to this type of barbaric behavior. Like, I will never forget the police, the way that they just came in, didn't ask no questions. I didn't have no clothes on. Remember, I'm naked. I'm in a very vulnerable position. And then you're hearing a police officer literally scream out and be like, "You're not going anywhere. You're coming with me." Like, jumping on you, like holding you down. And this is why they don't want to give me my pictures, because they had to take pictures of all the bruises that I had over my body. Some of the bruises were from the police, some of them were actually from the family member that triggered this whole incident. But I had these crazy massive bruises. Those who I showed these bruises to personally when I sent the pictures, you guys know that was some crazy ass bruises, like massive bruises, probably like this big on my arms and trailing up my arms, on my body, on my side, because I was getting kicked up on my side as well. Like, that's barbaric behavior. And then even why I'm talking about this is that yesterday I was in a situation. Well, let me say this first. Since this whole thing has happened, I do not trust any type of police officer, enforcement officer, anyone in those types of fields. I do not have any type of trust for them. I actually am incredibly triggered anytime I'm exposed to them. When I can walk down the street and see a police officer, my heart's beating, anxiety, because I don't know what could potentially happen. Like, the way that this whole thing took place, it was out of the blue and nobody could have predicted that. So when I'm in situations where I'm being exposed to these types of enforcement officers and police and all that kind of stuff, one of them came to my home yesterday, and again, this type of barbaric behavior. But the reason why I'm talking about this now is because I'm so glad that I'm proud of myself for how I dealt with this situation, because again, Mercury retrograde in Pisces, a lot of the past coming up, past experiences, and I feel like this is an opportunity to finally learn from these experiences. And it was almost like I was put straight back into that mental health facility. I refused to open my door. Like, I was not opening my door. And I'm so glad that I was actually exposed to information beforehand that I could actually be like, I'm a vulnerable person, and I don't need to engage with you, and I don't need to open my door. I know the law, and I'm that type of person. When when I'm scared, and I'm gonna get into this whole fear crux in a second. When I'm scared, there's an element of me that is bitching up, that is like, shit, this is like a crazy ass situation. What the fuck am I gonna do? Oh my gosh. Like, panic mode. But then there's another part of me that's like, I'm with the shits. I'm not the one. And that's how I actually that's how I am in the moment, because I'm literally having to reinsert my my authority, like my own sovereignty. You're not in control over me. You're not in control over my experiences. And it's so wild. And this is going to sound really, really weird, because even in the most fearful situations where you feel like fear has gripped you, where you feel like there's no way out, this is just your life now, you are literally gonna die or whatever, like whatever type of feelings you may have, it's in that moment, like there's a sweet spot in there that you have to be able to find. Like you have to separate, like, because what happened to me yesterday is that I was able to almost separate myself from myself. And for the context of this situation, for this scenario, I'm going to speak about higher self and lower self. Those of you know, I don't really like the whole boxing off of things, but it's almost like my higher self was able to detach from my lower self and look at things from a bird's eye perspective, and then learn how to integrate into my lower self to then take control of that situation in real time. And it's so wild because that's actually what happened. And I was able to fully take control of that situation and not allow the fear to keep riding. Yes, it was an impact. Yes, it did shake me up. Yes, it was, you know, it was a lot, because there's a lot that was flashback and all that kind of stuff. But the fact of the matter is, I'm in control now. Like, and I have to keep saying that to myself. This situation was so crazy because my child was here now. Last time I was aware that I was gonna get pregnant. My child I hadn't conceived yet, but I knew that I had to protect myself so that I could birth my child. Now I'm in a situation where these people are coming to me. My child is here. My child is scared. My child is traumatized. And I'm now having to be strong not only for myself, but for my child. That is a very intense situation to be in. And I'm just proud of myself, because this is, before I came on live, I did kind of like go in the shower and did some processing. And one of the things that I was hearing about this whole situation, or my whole kind of processing with this situation, was that you you're no longer the child now. The reason why I've been so scared and been held to my fear is because my inner child has been trapped in those situations, even before this whole mental health situations where I was sexually abused, where I was all that kind of stuff, like, you know, all the type of past childhood stuff. Those fears are mashed into the fears of everything that's coming, manifesting at the moment. So it's a thing where I had to learn to recognize that my inner child has been stuck on a program that has seen danger, been exposed to real danger, but not been taught how to face danger, how to deal with danger in real time. You know, how do you actually, even as a child, as a young girl, if you're not taught that you can actually say no, you could end up finding yourself into so many unconsensual experiences that you didn't want to experience, because you wasn't taught that you have control and that you do have a right to say no, to say yes, to make your own decisions, to make your own choices. And people don't actually need to dictate their reality over you. If you wasn't taught that, how do you actually embody it? It's not to say that it's not something that you can learn to embody, but how do you embody that when the people who were supposed to teach you, your parents, your guardians, they were supposed to teach you these lessons and they didn't. So how do you actually integrate those lessons in real time? And through processing this and coming to these types of realizations, it's brought me to a point where I can learn to have more compassion for myself in these types of situations, because I recognize it's switching yourself from the adult. Really, this is the inner child. The inner child feels trapped and she feels like she constantly needs to be rescued. But now, as Naomi, the adult, Naomi needs to recognize that Naomi needs to save little Naomi, because little Naomi's still trapped. Little Naomi still needs help. But everyone outside of you is not going to be able to help you more than yourself. You need to bring yourself out of that trap. And so a lot of these even the manifestations of these experiences with the mental health and all of these different types of officers and stuff, a lot of this is past life residuals that are coming up. I did mention in my last life that a lot of my past life experiences, or one of my past lives, was actually, I vividly see myself being burnt at the stake. And I'm a double Scorpio, double moon, moon and rising, Pluto conjunct my moon on my first house, on my rising. A lot of sorcery would have been going on in my past life. And, or even just having the innate knowledge, like even when I look at myself now and I see how I'm able to do what I do, even with astrology, even with my readings and my practices, the things that just naturally come, all of these things naturally came to me. I'm an adept. I didn't have these things taught to me. These things I literally remember. So when I look at these things, it's just like bang, like it just gets evoked. And it's like, this is why as a child I always studied astronomy. I always studied the sun and the planets, but because being in a Christian home, astrology wasn't something that I would have gone to. But clearly my soul was drawing me to a direction that was familiar to me, and so, yeah, going back, one of my past lives, I pick up the trauma of the witches of Salem, and a lot of those residuals within me, which brings up this fear, this constant fear of someone's going to get you. What you're doing, because of because of who you are, someone's going to get you. And that's a real fear that I have to take control of. The more that I allow that to run and just go on its own journey, is the more that I will end up manifesting those types of realities. But one of the things, like I said, I learned this from this whole glitch experience, is that you're always in control. There's never a moment when you're not in control. No, not even when you're not in control, where you can regain your control, because that fear can grip you for a minute, but the moment that you realize that, let me step back a bit, even to going back to the child thing, because I was just looking at I learn about myself just by looking at my natal placements, and almost like being like, okay, Jupiter, what are you teaching me about Chiron? As Jupiter's conjunct my Chiron on my 9th house. What are you teaching me? And I really resonate with the message of really learning to tap back into your imagination. That's actually your biggest power. Anyone who's watched Mr. Nobody. Um, Definitely watch this movie. Dope movie. You probably have to watch it about 10 times to fully get it. But it's a dope ass movie. Um, but it really kind of just shows that the world that your reality is formulated off of the consciousness of your inner child, off of the imagination of your inner child. And I got that message in the hospital, and I'm feeling emotional right now just even going back and thinking about this, because I received, talking about the singing and stuff like that. I've always been a singer, and I almost see singing was actually my initiation, or music was my initiation into shamanism, because even when I was a Christian, I used to I was a musician as well, so I used to play keys. My whole family's musicians, and we used to play for church services and artists and stuff like that. But I used to play by numerology. So like, because I'm not very well at musical theory. I'm really, really bad at that. But I learned how to play by numbers. So um like the fifth note in a scale would be called the five, like, or the second note in a scale would be called a two, and then you formulate your chords of that, and that's what I was doing. But in doing that, I always knew that, okay, five, if I go to the five and if I play a five, then that five is going to create this type of atmosphere. And it did it every time. And if I go to two, then it's going to create this type of atmosphere. And it happened every single time. And so this is what I mean about, I learned shamanism, about shamanism through music. Music was my initiation to even just the discovery of myself. That's how I learned how to reclaim my voice. I learned through learning through spoken word and teaching myself how to do spoken word. I learned emotional intelligence. That was a way for me to be able to process these deep complex emotions. But when I put it into a rhyme, it was like, it was so much of a release. This is what I mean about that transmutation, not allowing those feelings to get trapped inside, but finding a way to be able to transmute it and transform it into healthier ways. So with singing, just singing, like, that always would be a thing for me to be able to go into those realms. And within the hospital, I all I did was just sing. Like, that's the only thing I could do, because I didn't have anything. And I remember there was a song that I used to just sing, like these random songs, and I still do it till today. I've let you guys know this before. But I channeled a song, and I'm still working to actually get my music back so I can actually start releasing back music again. But I channeled this song, and I know this song was directly from the ancestors, and it was from my ancestors inside, because it came from inside of me. And it was a message. It was, don't let them take what makes you beautiful. It was just that sentence, that phrase was so poignant for me. Don't let them take what makes you beautiful. What makes you beautiful is everything that they don't understand. But don't allow yourself to get locked in their elusive reality or perception or trap perception or whatever, because that's not your reality. Your reality is completely different. You feel this is your reality. Like, there's no way that anyone can tell you that this isn't real. So these are the things, these are the qualities, my intuitive qualities, my ability to just, how I even used to use singing. I used to use, I still do it, I use my voice as a tuning system. So I use it to tune up my chakras. I use it to tune up my energy. I use it to raise my vibration. Right? Almost like sound healing. That's how I use my voice. So if for someone who doesn't understand that, and to be like, oh, what's sound healing? Like, how can you heal with sound? You need medicine. Like, you go in your reality where you feel like you need to be taking vaccines and this long ass name medicine that you can't even pronounce for you to be made better. If that's your reality, then go ahead. You're entitled to your reality, but don't allow me to feel any less um normal because of what I do and what I do to be able to heal myself and be able to bring myself to a point to where I can transform myself. It won't look the same for everyone else, and I'm just that person where I have to create, and I have to find myself through my creations. There's so many things that I just create on the spot, and that takes me into so many different realms of understanding and exploration. And you'll look at it and you'll be like, what the hell are you doing? It doesn't have to make sense to you. And so going back to the whole thing of fear, you're always in control. Like, don't allow anyone to feel, or don't allow yourself to feel like anyone has any type of dictation over your reality and over your experience, because that's, you literally give away the permission to people, that you give away your right to your own sovereignty because you're too scared to claim it. And so this is what I realized within this whole experience of just dealing with fear. Like, don't allow anyone to trick you out your sovereignty, no matter what type of situation that is, because you always have control. You always have the opportunity to regain control, to maintain control. And it's not to maintain control to enforce it onto someone else, but to maintain your boundaries. That's what it's about. It's maintaining the boundaries of your own sovereignty. And that's something I refuse to compromise on. Like, and this is why the power of the mind, like really learning how to strengthen and reprogram your mind, is what allows you to be able to get to this point, to be able to do this. Because once you, I've had some dark thoughts. You know, again, Lilith is also conjuncting Pluto and my moon on my rising, so I can get a lot of dark thoughts that I'm now learning to just observe. Like, these things can create paranoia, you know, because I can see things and it'd be like, whoa, what the hell is that? Right? But I then can almost observe it and be like, okay, that's what you are. Okay, so that's what I'm dealing with. Okay, so how am I going to constructively and practically deal with this situation and not get lost in this whole unnecessary anxiety? You know, like, and this is why shadow work is powerful, because once you confront your own shadow, your own inner demons, that's your biggest enemy. That's your only enemy, really, because anything else is just a reflection of your shadow being reflected back at you. So you have to ask yourself, are you afraid of the dark? You know, because it's this darkness that reveals so much. That's actually why, even just quoting Jesus, right? Jesus, he spoke about the mysteries, and all of his parables were denoting to the mysteries of the kingdom, and seek ye first the kingdom, and seek these mysteries, and seeking the darkness, right? Not seeking the light, not seeking what can already be seen, like what can make you, look a specific way. No, really going down and seeking that darkness, seeking the hidden, seeking the mysteries, seeking all of that stuff, unraveling all of the past and karmic influences that are bleeding into your reality, because that's essentially what is happening. Go back to my Mercury retrograde in Pisces video. A lot of our past lives are literally bleeding through, and so this is an opportune moment for us to be able to look at what's happening and be like, okay, this has happened before. I can see this cycle coming back around, so this is what I'm going to do. I don't need to allow this cycle to take me back in a whole blasted cycle. I can cut it right now. So yeah, essentially what I wanted to say is, when dealing with fear, you have to be able to plunge yourself all the way in. The only way to deal with fear is to face it and to stand firm in yourself and know that, your power is not outside of yourself. Your power is inside. So you just need to activate it. It's so funny because going back to yesterday, when I saw myself in a situation, I'm literally dealing with the guy. I'm literally looking at myself because I can see that I'm scared, and I can see, oh my god, like I see myself panicking, and I'm literally shaking. But I'm hearing my voice, and I'm like, go on, girl. Go on, girl. You got this. And you have to be able to learn how to be able to compartmentalize yourself and just see what's actually happening, You're dealing with it. And look what happened. You was able to, like turf him. Like I managed to turf him just by my voice. Just by using my authority through my voice. And this is the stuff that I was learning through the whole mental health experience. So yes, it was traumatic, but it exposed and it taught me lessons that I needed to learn of how to deal with my fear in real time. Because these are the times when you're tested, when you're in the situation, when you're in the fire, in the moment. It's all good being outside and being like, yeah, okay, I've been doing my healing, When push comes to shove and you're put back in another situation, that's your test. And I'm in my Saturn return now, so there's a lot of tests that's coming up right now, and I'm having to learn how to just go through the punches and roll through the punches and just go through my little grading system right now that Saturn's trying to take me through. So I feel your pain for anyone else who's going through their Saturn returns. Saturn in Capricorn is not an easy Saturn return to be dealing with. It's very, very hard, but we will get through it. And those with Saturn in Aquarius, Saturn is going in Aquarius very, very soon. So your Saturn returns will be coming up soon. Those who are coming into your 28s and so 28 age. So yeah, but I don't want to make this video too long. And let me put this in as well. I would say, with dealing with fear, have a trigger mantra, because that's something that I actually created in the moment. It just came out of the blue, and this is what I mean. A lot of the stuff just comes out of the blue for me, and I'm having to learn how to just use it in the moment. But I would say things like, I refuse to engage in your elusive projections, and I only choose to engage in my intentional manifested reality. So I'm taking control of the things that I want to be able to manifest in my experience. So going back to the whole thing about the imagination and the child, like your imagination, what you imagine things to be, how you intend things to be, like you really have to hold yourself and align yourself to that and not waver on that. Like, I'm not accepting anything else. And it's not to say that that situation is going to turn out exactly how you imagined it in your mind, but the result will be exactly how you intended it to be. And so make sure you have create your own trigger mantra, so that when in moments of fear, that's your trigger to almost switch on your higher self program and be like, right, pay attention, what's going on, right, what do I need to do, so that you can transmute those messages down to your lower self to actually implement those in real time. It's not about having ourselves separated. It's not about ascending all the way up. How are you meant to be dealing with shit on the ground? How are you meant to be dealing with shit in 3D? Right? Integration. And we're really going to be coming into this integration more as the nodes are switching very shortly into Gemini and Sagittarius. So it's going to be a powerful time of integration. And so, you know, and for anyone who is struggling with fear, I'm hoping that this video was of some support or relevance to you, in me being able to share my own story and my own experiences of dealing with fear, and just learning how to overcome them in real time. I'm just as human as you. I'm not superhuman. I deal with the same, you know, if not like whatever, like same stuff as everyone else. So, you know, we can all implement these abilities to, or these techniques to the best of our ability. So I'm gonna jump off, because I still need to film the astrology series. I'm going to get them filmed up today, as I've got a bit of time today, so you should be able to see them coming out soon. Thank you, Burning Ego. Terry Wyatt said, my life is getting freaky. Oh gosh, you're not the only one. Right, but yeah, let me know how you guys found this video. Leave some comments in the comment box below, and yeah, I will catch you guys on the other side.